Twist of Cain.
If you would have asked me 10 years ago if I would have had a steady, full-time acting career, I would have laughed in your face. I was never a drama kid. On the contrary, I was an athlete. Not that one can't be both. I was on the varsity football, wrestling, and lacrosse teams. None of which landed me any scholarships thanks to my low grades. My parents couldn't afford to send me to college, so I enlisted into the service. I remember how proud my family was that I passed basic training. What I don't remember was the IED blast that took both of my legs and one of my arms. The healing process was grueling. Phantom limb syndrome would be something that I would never get used to. The mental trauma long outlasted the physical trauma. I was blessed to have 2 prosthetic legs that allow me to walk on my own, given time and extensive physical therapy. For a while, I drank my disability checks away. Feeling sorry for myself became the norm. I didn't leave the house unless it was to buy more booze. And then I saw a YouTube video that changed my life entirely. A man with similar disabilities dressed up as a zombie to play pranks on people. Curious, I looked into him and found out that he did work on several horror TV shows and movies. And that's how I landed my career. There was a never-ending supply of zombie horror films that needed amputees, and even the government hires amputees for military training exercises. It was actually insanely fun to do, not to mention a total trip to see myself in movies and on TV shows. My attitude changed. I learned to embrace my disabilities, and it truly raised my spirit. I quit drinking, I started taking care of myself, I had a job that I loved. I was making the best of a shitty situation. Things could have been much worse. I still had my left hand, which was good because I have always been left-handed, and my genitals remained unscathed. I'm by no means saying that it's great to be disabled. It sucks. Dating is harder because I'm so self-conscious. I'm gay, and gay men tend to be very shallow. I get scared men won't give me the time of day because of what I had lost in war. I kind of just assumed that I would spend the rest of my life alone. And then I met Cain. Cain was a backup makeup artist for a movie I was working on. The previous makeup artist quit showing up to work with no explanation as to why. Cain's job then was to dress what was left of my limbs to look like they were fresh wounds. It takes quite some time to do this, so we got to know each other fairly well. Cain had a wonderful sense of humor, and he was also hot as fuck. He had a chiseled jawline, dark brown hair, and bright green eyes. He was fit, but not overly muscular. He had a sense of confidence about him that wasn't arrogant. That added to his charm. The hours we spent together felt like minutes. I can't begin to describe how much I enjoyed his company. I was too self-conscious to ask him out, so you can imagine my surprise when he asked me out for some drinks after work. I, of course, happily obliged. We went to a hole-in-the-wall bar. It turned out to be a gay bar. Was Cain gay, or did he just like the fact that gay bars pour heavier drinks? I had to ask, is this your type of place? Yeah. I was hoping it was your kind of place too. I smiled at this. Was Cain flirting with me? I didn't know it was that obvious, I replied. You aren't. Except for the way that you look at me. I decided to take a risk and flirt back. It's not often that I get this type of attention from anybody, let alone somebody as handsome as you. Normally, people treat me with pity. You act like I'm a normal person. Cain put his arm around my shoulder, leaning in closer to me. I don't ever want to hear you talk like that about yourself. You are so much more than what you give yourself credit for. For some reason, his touch felt wrong. I don't know why. I had a huge crush on him after all. I brushed the feeling off as me just not being used to this type of attention. Do you know I chose you? I assumed that by chose, he meant ask me out. I responded, no, I honestly don't know why you asked me out. You have been through so much pain and trauma, yet you are still filled with life. It's like you are capable of anything. Nothing can hold you back. I see so much potential. I blushed at this. And then he said something that shocked me. Do you want to come back to my place? I mean, of course. Cain had a car, so he drove both of us. On the ride back to his place, I was getting myself both hyped up and nervous. What if this leads to something more? The car ride was awkwardly silent. I didn't know what to say because I was so nervous. I didn't want to fuck this up. Luckily, he eventually filled the silence with some anecdotes. From the stories he shared, he sounded well-traveled. Cain lived in a studio apartment. He warned me that it was a mess, and he wasn't joking. The place smelled like rot. Clutter littered the floor all helter-skelter. The walls were barren, void of any photos or posters. There wasn't even a television set. I was scared I would trip over the dirty clothes on the floor, but I managed to maneuver my way around without falling. I would give you a tour, but this is pretty much it. The bedroom is this way. This is actually happening. This would be the first time I had gotten laid since I got back from the war. That was partially my fault for being so insecure, but nobody had pushed for it to happen. Once in the bedroom, Cain began to unbutton his shirt. I was wearing a t-shirt, which I was able to take off in one fluid motion, using my only hand. Lay down on the bed, he instructed. I happily obliged. He crept towards me slowly, climbing onto the bed and over my prosthetic legs. I need you as you really are, he said as he began to remove my prosthetics. This made me feel uncomfortable, but I wanted to do as he asked. He began kissing the base of my stomach near my pant line, and he kissed his way past my navel and slowly up to my collarbone, then my neck. By the time he reached my face, he paused. I have a confession to make, he said. Oh? I smiled in anticipation. You are not looking at Cain. You are looking at a man named Brian. Cain sat up, straddling me. We were both still wearing pants, but I was rock hard. You can call yourself whatever you want, I said. Brian was weak. He had cerebral palsy. He couldn't even walk. Was this some type of roleplay? I was stuck under Cain's weight, though I wasn't trying to escape him yet. I saved Brian. A seam began to split vertically down Cain's forehead. I never asked much of Brian, just that we share the gifts that I gave him. Cain, what's going on with your face? I began to squirm to get out from underneath the man. Brian no longer appreciates my gifts, so I searched for someone who will. What are you talking about, Cain? Let me up. In one swift movement, the seam on Cain's face completely split open. His skull cracked from his upper jaw up, split open entirely, spilling brain matter onto my chest and face. I screamed louder than I have ever screamed in my life. From inside Cain's skull cavity, near the back of his throat, crawled a creature. It looked like a spider, but its body was longer, and it had more than 8 legs. I tried pushing Cain off of me, but he pinned my good arm down with unbelievable strength. The creature crawled out of Cain and landed on my face. It crawled over my mouth, which I immediately clenched shut. However, the thing bit my lips and I let out a muffled cry of pain. It must have had some sort of paralyzing toxin, because my jaw unclenched. The bug monster made its way into my mouth. It crawled into the back of my throat and began to chew its way onto my brainstem. I blacked out. I woke up with a searing headache. The back of my throat was in unbelievable pain. I could feel the creature's grip on the base of my skull. My arm shot up to rub at the back of my neck. My right arm. I had 2 arms again. I sat up in shock only to find 2 fully restored legs. It was then that I heard a voice from inside my head. I have made you whole again. Why? I asked out loud. Because I need you just as much as you need me. All I ask is for you to do as I say. And what if I don't? Against my will, my head turned towards the shriveled body of the man I knew as Cain. I'm afraid you don't have a choice, unless you want to end up like your buddy Brian over there. What are you? You could say I'm a demon. Everyone assumes possession is a spiritual thing, but the process is very much so physical. What do you want from me? My body sat up and walked toward the rotting carcass of Cain or Brian or whatever his name was. I want you to feed. And just then, the strangest craving for human flesh engulfed me.
You have just listened to The Twist of Cain, written and illustrated by Mediocre, with a performance by newcomer Ryan Soto. This is his first time voice acting, so I thought he did a wonderful job. The music is by Kevin MacLeod. I was hesitant to write this tale because wounded warriors are a sensitive subject. I am a veteran and I know other vets who have been disabled, so I asked them for help with this story. Anyways, thanks for listening.